I'll never forget, we shipped out millions of products and UPC code didn't work. It was too small. So what happened is people would go take the product and they couldn't scan it out of the store. So they would sometimes steal it, believe it or not, or they would have to have the cashier write the full number. So imagine you bought 10. They'd have to type in 10, 13, or 11 digit codes. So they get fed up. And then it wasn't registering as sales because it wasn't registering as midday squares. It was registering as a grocery item because then they got frustrated. So in the end, we went from like a certain amount of revenue from this thing, we're heroes, to the next month coming in at like one of the lowest revenues, went down $1 million or $1 million that month. We didn't know what was going on. And then we realized our codes are off.
Hey, welcome to today's episode of Pivot to Profit, where we talk all things money, entrepreneur stories, painful tuitions they paid along the way, and what they're doing now. So I am absolutely pumped to have the amazing Jake Karls here from Midday Squares. So fantastic. I actually heard you do a keynote yesterday, so took lots and lots of notes. Your background is super impressive. Forbes 30 under 30, fantastic, all the accolades. So congratulations on that. But to start, I just want to know, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, I love that question. My dream is to be a professional hockey player in the NHL. I was a goalie growing up, and all I wanted to do was I wanted to play for the Montreal Canadiens, and didn't happen. But I always envisioned that, and it played a big role in my life because I played competitive sports, of hockey specifically. And in competitive sports as a kid, you learn so much, like from rejection to failure, to having to pivot, as it said before in your podcast. And also just teamwork. And being a goalie, it's a really big mental game because you're actually all alone, more or less. Your team is great. They do all the work. But if you lose and you let in a lot of goals, they blame you. And if you don't get a shout out, it's not always spotlighted on you. So it's just a lot of mental. And going through that, I learned about the power of pressure and how to utilize that. So I think that even though I didn't become an NHL player, I became a chocolatier, a chocolate entrepreneur, and hopefully one day a global entrepreneur that does many different things.
I love it. I've never had that answer before. I've had like ballerina, all things.
I did like dancing too, but I knew that was not in my cards.
Like break dancing?
No, just like I am the worst dancer. Like if you see my videos today, like I go in my hallway, I just do the moves. But I've always loved the idea of dancing too. And like I watched professionals and I'm like, these people are so talented. Like it would be so cool if I knew those moves or how to move the body like that. Just doesn't work for me.
Not in the cards.
I use it in marketing, but people make fun of it because it's like so bad.
So it totally works to be a bad dancer in your world. So next question is, what was young Jake taught about money? Like, was money good? Was money evil? Should you want it? Like, what was shown to you from your parents, your culture, your society?
I think the value of a dollar was shown to me at a very young age, meaning like how hard it is to earn a dollar. My father is an entrepreneur, and my mother helped build his business as well with him. And I saw the hardships of what it looked like to do it and how much it costs to build a business, and also from both a financial perspective, but also sacrifice in your own life. And watching that, the ability to see coming from nothing to building something and that it's possible was my relationship to money. How hard work, withstanding pressure, believing in something even when people don't believe in you can lead to something very big. And at first, when we started our business, I was like, we're going to build $1 billion business. Like that was when we started with Midday Squares. But then my relationship to that changed actually as I started to do the business. And I realized that I actually enjoy a lot more things other than a financial outcome. And I actually enjoy the process of getting to do what I love every day. I'm a Rainmaker for my company. I build relationships. I do a lot of keynotes. I do things that I never thought I'd ever do. So like that's the fun. The process is the fun. I know that we talked about athletes before, but athletes talk about trust in the process. And I never understood that till I realized that the process is the fun. The hardship, the pain, the adversity, the financial difficulties that you're going to go through in a business is the stuff you got to appreciate on this journey. And first, I didn't have that relationship. It was all just about like, let's build this to build $1 billion business. And now it's come like I enjoy the hardship, and it's a privilege to be on that journey. So my relationship has changed significantly, but the one thing that stayed common through financial or money was the value of a dollar is really important, and understanding how hard it is to make a dollar is extremely important.
And that it takes work and effort, and it doesn't just fall into your lap. You've got to hustle for it.
And I remember, I'll never forget, I wasn't great at school. So school was not in my cards. My mother really wanted me to be a strong professional in the school world, an academic, and I respect that so much because a lot of my friends are brilliant that are now, they're CFOs, they're lawyers, they're doctors, they're crushing it in life, they're making good dollars, and they were always brilliant academically. For me, that wasn't the case. Growing up, I always struggled. I have learning disabilities. I have dyspraxia. I never was able to do well in the classroom. So for me, I was always having anxiety about what am I going to do? How am I going to make money to support a family one day, to support, things I like, for example, going away. I enjoy that to decompress. So I always had this anxiety throughout my life. And then when it came to university, I studied to be an actuary, which I failed miserably.
So boring.
So boring, but very hard. And respect to actuaries, they predict a lot of good things and things in the world. But I did it because it was a high-paying job out of college. I didn't do it because I wanted to. So again, it came back to money. And then finally, when I didn't get a job, I was left with entrepreneurship. So I had to figure it out. My dad always said to me, doesn't matter if you finish your school, you just need to work. Whatever that is you want to do, you got to work, you need to work hard. And that's what he supported. And he gave me the confidence or the energy to do it, but he was very hard on me from it. And if I wasn't going to do well in the school and build that whole world, I needed to be working, even, physical labor, whatever it was, day in, day out. Otherwise, there was no support. And I think having that in the back of my mind made me want to work really hard.
So it pushed you because you knew the only option was to do something that would take care of you because there was no safety net.
I saw what it looks like to build. I was like, there's moments of complete glory, but most of the moments are actually just pain and adversity and not knowing, uncertainty of not knowing if you're going to be able to do something for the next month. So watching that was fascinating. And like I said, my parents gave me a great life, by the way. He worked really hard. My dad and my mom did as well. They gave us everything, but the whole idea was the giving of everything was critical as long as we worked hard. And knowing that, seeing that risk has reward was a big thing going forward in my life, that I was like, okay, take risk. There's a chance at success from that. Being on average gives you a chance in an unaverage outcome. Being average, playing it safe, won't give you that. But I saw that growing up. So having seen that, I was, I always say it was like, I'm so grateful that I got to go through that because I watched pain, but I also watched how success can happen over time. And it didn't make me scared of it, which I think a lot of people are scared. And I think seeing it is something critical. And I think that with social media today, you can actually see a lot of it because you don't have to be fully intertwined into a family or a business that's been prior. You could actually watch some of your favorite people that share so much that you get to kind of feel a little bit of what it actually looks like to go through all of that process in quotations.
So actuarial is not where you ended. Your sister and brother-in-law started this chocolate company and called you up and be like, hey, come join us. So you're a co-founder in the business with family, started out of a condo kitchen. Help us understand, what was a financial win early on that you were like, oh, this can actually work. We're going to make it.
So we started, the three of us, sister, brother-in-law, and brother, I guess, and we didn't partner because we're family. I think this is really important. We partnered because each one of us have a different skill set that when you put it together, it's a very strong tripod. And how we protected that was we went to therapy every single week, in good or bad, to make sure that we stayed aligned. And alignment is one of the most important things in any entrepreneur's journey, because if you are not aligned with your partners, it's very easy for tension to build, and it's very easy for anxiety, fear to come in because it's hard, and things then just blow up, and you might lose your family member in terms of relationship for life, and that would not be worth it. So we partnered because we complement each other and we protected the partnership through therapy. After that, that was the number one investment we made from a financial perspective, was investing in therapy. Second time where we actually kind of knew there was momentum and that it was financial, our first year goal was to sell $250,000 worth of chocolate bars. And when my partners told me that, I was like, how the hell are we going to sell $250,000 worth of this chocolate bar? It's one of the most saturated markets. We don't have grocery store shelves. We have no followers. No one knows who we are. But they were so delusional in their belief this was going to work that I was like, I bought into it. And I was like, let's just do this. And I'll never forget, that was our first year goal. We blew past it in the first couple months. Once we blew past that, I was like, this is real, and there is sincere momentum. And momentum, when it's used in a positive way, the force is unstoppable. And I jumped onto that train at that momentum, and I was just like, wow, this is real, and we have a chance. And then it just kept compounding and compounding and compounding. And I think the most important part of the whole thing was having this unconditional self-delusional belief that it was possible. And I surrounded myself with people that also believed and that were just as delusional as us.
That were bought into, this is going to be amazing.
Or that it's possible to get there. I think that even if they didn't like the product or they didn't believe in the product, they trusted the three of us to do our greatness to get there. And just being around that, and I want to say my wife, who came on early, we just started dating at that time. She really, when I got home at night, I was depleted, because most entrepreneurs will be depleted along this journey, or people in the corporate world. There's no one better than the other, by the way. They're both very hard, and they have both very big rewards and very big pros and cons. But when I would come home and I was depleted and I felt like throwing the towel in multiple times, she would refire me up to realize why I'm doing what I'm doing. Again, surrounding yourself with those kinds of folks, not just your partner or whatever, but friends, acquaintances, even who you follow on social media, because it's what you see in your brain, is super important. And I'm grateful for everyone that's been a part of that journey for me. So thank you if you listen to this.
I love it. It's so important to have a tribe of people around you who do believe in what you're building, because it is hard. So tell us about some hard lessons you guys learned along the way, both financial, team-wise, because no successful entrepreneur has gotten here without those hard times, without having to fire someone that you really cared about, or a financial loss. So help us understand some of those early challenges.
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges that any business will go through, and we didn't know this early on, was the cost of a wrong hire. And the wrong hire could be because of the organization or because of the individual that just wasn't fit for the organization. And if you don't put the time and effort into hiring the right for the culture, for the skill sets and alignment, and I'm talking about our alignment and the other person alignment, so it's both sides. If you don't do that, invest in that, you're going to have costly mistakes. And as a startup, if you make some of those, let's say 2 or 3 or bad hires at the early stage, you can close the business. So we had some of those experiences early on, and we got better, and we're still learning how to get better at hiring and building the team and building the culture. But I think from a financial mistake that we made was a big one. You now have the square in your hands. When we started this business, it was 2 squares per package. So it was 2 of them in one pack, and it was $3.99. So it was $2 per square, let's call it. We then had to make a change because all of our raw materials went up in price. This is about 3 years ago. Raw materials skyrocket, like peanuts, chocolate, shipping, logistics, everything. And if we didn't change the price and change the product at the time, we would be out of business within 2 months. We'd run out of cash. We saw it on our P&L. And I'll never forget, my partners and I said we have 2 options. We either don't change it and we actually just raise the price up, but we leave the amount of product in there, which is not possible because it's too much at that point. Or we change the price, we change the product to 1 square, which people were already giving us feedback early on that it was a lot in 2 squares. We do it, we rip it off with all one Band-Aid, and we explain to our consumers why we're doing it. And we showed them the P&L of how much we wouldn't survive. And that right now, if we do this, we could survive, and one day we'll make more money down the line when things obviously settle and cycle to what it should be. I'll never forget when we did it, the video, we got amazing feedback. I want to buy more. But what we forgot was we went to one store to scan the UPC code to the back, where that's the general code that scans in stores for them to keep track. And it worked. But we didn't check it on like on the website where it's a certification website where you could check it for 30 or $60. I can't remember the dollars. I just didn't do it. And I'll never forget, we shipped out millions of products and UPC code didn't work. It was too small. So what happened was people would go take the product and they couldn't scan it out of the store, so they would sometimes steal it, believe it or not, or they would have to have the cashier write the full number. So imagine you bought 10. They would have to type in 10, 13, or 11-digit codes. I can't remember that. So they get fed up. And then it wasn't registering as sales because it wasn't registering as midday squares. It was registering as a grocery item because then they got frustrated. So in the end, we went from a certain amount of revenue from this, thinking we're heroes, to the next month coming in at one of the lowest revenues, went down $1 million or $1 million that month. We didn't know what was going on. And then we realized our codes are off. So that little lesson was it was millions of dollars over time. And then in the end, it was the right decision to do the 1 square because that's now the habit of how the consumer eats. So it was actually a great decision. But because that little mistake for $30 that we didn't do cost us millions of dollars, and a huge lesson going forward that caring on the little things, the regulatory things, the smaller things that you think are nothing can add to something massive over time that almost shut our whole business.
And at that point, the bars are in the stores.
We had to run through a lot of them. We had to re-talk to our retailers. And trust me, these retailers are great partners of ours. They're alongside us on this journey. They want us to win. So imagine now they have this logistical issue that it's on us to deal with. So we had to send people to stores, and some of them, in some cases, we let it flow through. But immediately we stopped shipping right away. We had to order new packs, emergency orders. It was a disaster. The whole thing was a disaster. And now we definitely use, when we change packages, the website. And then the second part about it is, I think that at the time, because the business was in a good place prior, we were able to sustain the cash loss for the period of time. But if this went on for a couple more months, we were out of business. So smaller businesses don't have the luxury a lot of the time to sustain a big issue like that. And we were small, medium-sized, but I can imagine the bigger companies, they could sustain it for a little longer. So for them, it's not the end of the world. My lesson to everyone is just pay attention to the small details and that you think are useless. Yeah, another big financial thing that I think is relevant is middaysquares.ca. So we started with middaysquares.com, which is the website we use, but we didn't buy the Canadian one, even though we're from Canada, because the .com is used globally, right? So we just didn't buy it, and my partner, Nick, I love him, my brother-in-law, he's just I'm not going to spend it was I don't know if it was $60 or $100 at the time. He just whatever, we don't need it. This is day one, early in the business. 3 years in, we had someone buy the website. And they were like, need $1,000 or $2,000. We're like, we're not paying that. That's ridiculous. Like, this is our own name. Like, so then they upped the price, and then they started putting like profanities on it. So like when you went to that website, it showed things that were inappropriate. So consumers were turned off. And then we were in a weird situation where the price went up higher, and we still stood our ground. And then finally we ended up paying over $20,000
for that one URL.
One URL that was $60 or $100 a day one, 20,000, and painful for our customers. So it was a double loss. Now I've learned these little things matter. So don't oversee them. Don't say you'll do them later. Do them when you see them first, and it will cost you a lot less of stress and capital.
It's amazing the little things that entrepreneurs don't know that cost them so much money. I talk to clients all the time, and it's just like, wow, like you just burned $100,000 because you forgot one sentence in a contract.
Crazy, eh?
It's ridiculous.
And when you raise money, I think is another thing for entrepreneurs is spend on the legal. Don't get excited that someone gives you a low-cost legal because it's, you're going to save money because it's less money that you have to pay. I promise you that the less money you paid in 3 years when you have an issue with some sort of thing going on, a bad time or a rainy moment, and the contract says the contract and it's not favorable for you, you could be out of your business. So for us, every time we did a financial raise, it was really important that we actually spent on very good legal. People were like, it's so expensive what you're doing. I said, well, guess what? We're protecting true, like our vision and who we are and why we built this business, so that we don't land up in a scenario where it's like, we're out of this company because of one small wording or a provision we didn't negotiate. So I think that that's something any entrepreneur that's listening to, small or big, just get the right legal for it and invest in it. It's well worth it. It might not be ROI day one, but it's an ROI in a year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, when you sell your company, if you IPO, all these things, right? So critical.
Lawyers are some of the best money you can spend.
100%.
Because a $300 lawyer, no. Like, you need an expensive lawyer. I have 2 lawyers on my speed dial that I can text right now if there's a problem. And you, as an entrepreneur, you do need to have access to those bulldogs. Like, if someone's going to come at me or come at your business, you need to have that protection. Absolutely, especially when you start getting big and getting attention. People are not nice. And so if you are trying to use ChatGPT for your contracts, and then a client isn't happy or whatever, they come at you, and then you're gonna have to pay thousands of dollars in lawyer fees to clean it up.
And I just think, like, do first principle thinking, which is protection, even insurance. Insurance is one of the biggest industries in the world. Why? Because you need insurance. You don't know when you need it. The rainy day is gonna come. And if you don't have it, you're out. And it happens with personal life, in your business life. And I'll never forget, we had a situation where insurance saved us. And because I studied actuarial science a little bit, I believed in insurance tremendously. And now we invest in a lot of insurance even though it costs money. I think that, again, look at it as not an expense, but an investment into your future. And once you look at that and the relationship of money, where it's not the frugality or being like, we don't need this right now because we're small, but it's like, you still got to think ahead. It's very important to think ahead, not just in terms of quarters, but in terms of 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. I think in other cultures, when it's not a public company, they actually focus on longer term stuff, and the company's whole culture is based on that. But when you're in a public company, and I'm not in a public company, but you see everything's crammed into quarters. Is that the best thing? I don't know. Because a business, what I see, everything takes a long period of time. And to see things through takes time too.
I love it. So as the chief Rainmaker, what are some key KPIs that you're looking at on a weekly or monthly basis with the leadership team to figure out, are we winning, are we losing? Because numbers do matter, numbers tell a story. And what I find is the entrepreneurs who have key metrics and they're dialed in and they have the dashboards and they have the advisors helping them walk through that are the ones that scale, and the ones that can't make payroll are the ones that aren't looking. So what are some numbers that really move the needle for you guys?
I think for us, number one, profitability is a huge one. So gross margin is one of the most important in the consumer world. And when you're building a product, if you don't have gross margin, you're in trouble. That is literally the thing you should be focused on. And then again, top line revenue is also important, the growth of the top line revenue. So those are the 3 big metrics we're really looking at on a daily basis. On our 3-year game plans, is we basically, not yardsticks the word, but we peg to that and then reverse engineer what we need to do. Rainmaking ability, my job is to make friends for the company, and then the friends of those companies end up becoming, helpful in our sales team, for our finance team, for our media team. So what I do is I go look for people that can be part of our family one day. So whether it be an investor, so I'll go spend time traveling, meeting different investors, hanging out with them, getting to know them. So when the time does come, when we need to raise money, I could pick up the call and say, hey, are you guys interested? And then once they say yes or no, if they say yes, I send them to now my finance team, and then that leadership team gets that done. So I pass it off, right? Same thing goes with retailers. So I travel everywhere for our retail partners that we sell to, and I build relationships with our buyers. So the KPI is not on the Did I get something out of it that moment? Did I actually build a friendship that lasts beyond the transaction of my team? And if I do that, then I know that this is going to go a long way. And I can't tell you how many times we've been in pickles where the rainmaking relationship saved the company. And again, so I do this on a daily basis. I make noise, I make people feel something, I build relationships, and the KPI is just, do eventually those relationships stay true to us over just the transaction that we do with them? So the agenda is more just like, who are you as a human? Do we connect or do we not? And if we don't, why should we work together if we don't connect? If we connect, how can you add value to our business? How can we add value to your life? And I'll connect that.
And it's creating that network, that Rolodex of, hey, I've got this challenge. I need new wrappers and I need them tomorrow. I need a new design. I got a new product. And just being able to pick up the phone and call those people and build that relationship. So that's beautiful. I love it.
Even where we're here today, we're in San Diego right now. We're filming a podcast at a great community event. And I met a couple of folks yesterday that are very relevant for our next chapter of our business. So the next moment, and the individual told me, he's like, just when that time comes, please call me. I have the exact types of folks that I need you to meet. And I was just like, if I didn't come here, I would have never had that, right? So we had a nice conversation. Each other feels something. Like I always say, like, get the emotions out. It's not just transaction, which I know in your world of finance, it's a little bit more transactional, but there's still emotion to those transactions. And if you are able to bring those out, you can connect deeper than the transaction, right? So anyways, point I'm trying to say is show up, because you don't know where serendipity will take you. And serendipity is the most, other than momentum, is probably one of the most powerful things that we have as humans if you go and show up and put yourself in those scenarios.
I love it. Wrap up here, Jake. What does financial success mean to you personally?
I think it's just freedom to be able to continue my mission. That's it, because it's a tool. It's definitely a tool. For me, like, I'm on a 9-day trip right now where I'm in 5 different cities. It's hard on my body. I'm eating hotel food. I'm sleeping in different beds, different hotels. I'm on planes. So my body gets hurt. When I get home, I need to invest in wellness so that I can get back up and perform again when I have to go do it. So that cost to invest in the wellness is expensive, but it's an investment. So why I work so hard is to be able to do those kinds of things, because they genuinely make me a better human. And if I can continue to do that, then I'm living my mission, and I'm using capital as a tool to get there as well.
I love it. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and your hard lessons learned. Where can people connect with you?
LinkedIn, Jake Karls. I'm pretty active, very active actually. Instagram, Jake Karls, and then follow my company, Midday Squares, on all the stuff. TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. It's entertaining. Montreal, but I travel everywhere every week, so let's get coffee.
This has been fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your story. That's all for today's episode of Pivot to Profit. And remember, it's not what you make that matters, it's what you keep.